Hey guys, Zervix here with another video for Warhammer Online, Return of Reckoning, the Age of Reckoning private server. This is the final video in this series. We've made it. We did part 1 and 2 on Order Range DPS, part 3 and 4 on Order and Destruction Melee DPS. We did part 5 and 6 on the healers of both sides, and we just finished part 7, doing part 8 on the tank classes. So without further ado, let's go into the tanks for destruction. This is the Blackguard, the Chosen, and the Blackwork. All right, we know the tanks. All right, so here we go. The first one we're going to go into is the Blackguard. It is the Dark Elf tank class. They are a tank that deals mostly physical damage. They wear heavy armor, as you can see, and they can either go sword and shield, or they can use a two-handed glaive, and they look amazing. One of the coolest weapon types in the game. What are the strengths of the Blackguard? They have one of the highest skill caps and highest potential outputs of any tank in the game, mirrored with the Ironbreaker. They have a great toolkit of abilities in both two-handed or shield spec, so good reason to go either. They have a very interesting class mechanic that actually requires, good play and good skill to make the most out of. And again, Destro tanks just look goddamn amazing. What are the weaknesses of the Blackguard? So that because they have such a high skill cap, it is very easy to just play them kind of mediocrely, not with just at an average level. And when you play them like that, they kind of fall behind the Chosen or the Blackwork. So you need to play it well to really unlock that. They have a lot of choices in combat between just abilities and also, how much hatred to spend your class mechanic points on certain abilities, which can lead to indecision or making the wrong call, which will, kind of decide the fight for you sometimes if you made that wrong call. They can be overlooked compared to Chosen and to Blackwork because they do require that extra skill. So you're kind of better off. You know that if you get a Chosen or a Blackguard, generally they're going to do well. With a Blackguard, it's kind of iffy. Fantastic debuffs. They get some of the best debuffs for the enemies in the game. Very, very strong. But they can be kind of rage-inducing both to play and to play against. What is the mechanic of the Blackguard? They get hatred and their Dark Protector, similar to the Ironbreaker. So the way the hate works, as the fight builds, you start at 0, you go up to 100, and you can spend these points on certain abilities, a certain amount of points. So at 25, a stun might only be a 3-second stun. At 100, it might be a 5-second stun. They go into the longest stuns in the game. You get to choose how much points you spend on an ability, leading to that class decision and skill cap right there. They also have their Dark Protector. This is kind of like Oathfriend for the Ironbreaker. They put this buff on an ally. This increases the amount of hatred they gain, but also you can buff your ally as well. Some abilities affect both you and them. What are the specializations on the Blackguard? They have the Path of Malice. This is where you're going to get your offensive abilities, kind of your two-handed build. You have your Path of Loathing. This is where you're going to be more defensive, your sword and shield build. And finally, you have your Anguish line. This is where you're going to get your debuffs, your crowd control, and more utility. What are some classifying abilities on the Blackguard? So they have Crimson Death. This is a very strong ability. It is a high damage AoE cone in front of you. It increases all of the targets hit by it. It increases their chance to be critically hit by 10%, which is very, very good. Lets your group get them down even faster. They have Exile. This is the longest knockback in the game. Depending on how much hatred they spend on it, people will go flying. This is like a horizontal knockback, and it can shoot you into next week. Finally, they have Wave of Scorn. This is an AoE damage in front of you, 40% snare, not just for one target, but it's an AoE snare. So very powerful at locking down a big group of people. What kind of play is the Blackguard good at? They're good at group, they're good at scenarios, ranged warband, just like all the other tanks. Playing a tank class, playing that support class, you'll be invited to almost everything. The only thing that is locked out for you is maybe going solo, where you might have a tougher time because you can get kited pretty easily. Mobility is maybe the one failing of tank classes. All right, that's the Blackguard. We're going to move on to the next in the list, everybody's favorite, the Chosen class. So what is the Chosen? Another tank class. They're all tank classes. They do either physical damage or they can do spirit melee damage, unlocking a little bit more output for them. They can wear heavy armor. They get plate, the heaviest armor type and the most armor in the game. They can use either a sword and shield, or they can use a two-handed sword. Both are pretty good on them. What are the strengths of the Chosen? They are one of the easiest tank classes to learn and play, just like the Knight of the Blazing Sun. They have amazing group curses and auras that'll both buff your teammates and also hurt your enemies. They can use most of their abilities in either their sword and shield or their two-handed build, unlocking a lot of output for them, and they also happen to look really, really, really good. Like one of the coolest looking classes, not only in Warhammer, but in any game. What are the weaknesses of the Chosen? Unless played right, their damage output is kind of lower than the Blackguard and the Blackwork. So if you're doing this to be kind of a bruiser, damage dealer, you might walk away a little bit disappointed with your output. They're getting better. They've gotten a few buffs over time. Right now, they're in a pretty good shape, but still slightly lower than what the other classes can put out. But the ease of play kind of makes up for that. Their class mechanic, the curses, the auras that they can put out, they are strong, but boring. You just turn them on and you let them run. You're not really cycling anything in combat. You're not building combo points. You're not, shooting, building hatred or, grudge like the Ironbreaker or Blackguard. You're just kind of hitting your abilities, letting your auras do their thing. It's powerful, but not really very strong. People admire you for your appearance and not your personality. So you can be kind of overlooked that way. No one wants to know the inner workings of a Chosen. They just want to look at your armor. What are the mechanics? They got their curses, their auras. So at one time, you can have up to 3 curses available to you. These can do things like adding a Thorns proc to your teammates, or it can be debuffing the enemy's resist or stats, heal debuffing them, lowering the amount of heals they can get. Very strong, and as the fight goes on, you can swap them out if need be. What are the specializations on the Chosen? They can either go the path of Dread. This is going to be your offensive abilities and commands, two-handed type build. You can go your path of Corruption. This is going to be your defensive type build. And then you can finally go into your path of Discord. This is going to be debuffs, crowd control, and utility. Kind of mirrored between all the other tank classes. What are some class-defining abilities on the Chosen? Relentless, you strike your target 6 times in 3 seconds. Strong channel ability, put out a decent amount of burst. They have Quake. This is a mirror to the Night of the Blazing Sun. All targets in 40 feet cone in front of you will be staggered. They'll be mesmerized for 3 seconds. Good at locking them down from a distance or locking out healers in the back line for a little bit for other classes to get to them. And finally, Dreadful Terror. This is an aura that grants your allies AP, action points, to fire off more abilities, and it also drains your enemies of action points. What kind of play is the Chosen good at? They are good, just like all the other tanks, group, scenario, ranked, warband, PvE. They're good at everything. Farming, they're just not good at, running around by themselves and getting things done. And last, but certainly not least, the biggest of the bunch, we are going to go into the Blackwork. So this is, we're back on Empire. The Chosen just does not want us to get away from him. So the Blackwork. This is the green skin tank class. As you can see, they are massive and they look amazing too. Barely fits on the character select screen. They are a tank dealing either physical melee damage, mostly physical melee damage. They wear heavy armor, just like all the other tanks. They can go one-handed axe type choppa with a shield, or a two-handed, hammer type, bludgeoning type weapon. What are the strengths of the Blackwork? They are the highest damage output destro tank, compared to the others. Blackguard gets close sometimes, but Blackwork can put out a lot fairly easily. Fantastic group utility tools. They have a fun class mechanic in their combo system, and they also, just like all the other destro tanks, look incredible in their armor. What are the weaknesses of the Blackwork? Their shield spec can be underwhelming compared to the two-handed build. When you are so strong with a two-handed weapon and putting out damage at being that bruiser type class, the shield can be a little bit underwhelming by comparison. They lack mobility tools. They don't have the pounce ability of the Swordmaster. They don't really have the stagger of the Chosen or the Knight, so they're kind of just left running to the target, and they can be kited fairly easily. And because you are so big, you can stand out in the fight. That could either be a good thing for you or a bad thing for you. What's their mechanic? So it says brawling. Pretty much what it is war bellows and a combo type system. They can have these war bellows like sword enchants for the Swordmaster that buffs you and your allies. You can have 1 up at a time. You get 3 of them, I think. You can also have your plans. So similar to the Swordmaster combo system, you start out with no plan, you move on to the good plan, and then finally to the best plan. And as you use these things, you unlock other abilities and eventually, a finisher type ability, and then you start from the beginning again. Kind of fun to play with. Interesting class mechanic, double class mechanic in a way. What are the specializations of the Blackwork? They can either be Path of Debrala. This is their offensive line. This is where they get their offensive abilities. It's kind of their great weapon build. They have their the toughest. This is their shield abilities and shield type defensive stuff. And then finally they have the boss, which is your debuffs, your crowd control, and your utility. What are some class defining abilities on the Blackwork? So You have you what, which is an increases your damage for yourself. It increases your resist, your armor, your defenses, your parry, your dodge, your disrupt, and but after you get this buff for a few seconds, for like 15-20 seconds, your run speed will be debuffed. So you fire this off as you're running into the fray, really increases your output, your survivability, but in the end you get a debuff from it after running it. You have your 3-hit combo. This is where you spin around, hitting your target more than 3 times, kind of like 5 times. Major damage output, similar to Ether Dance on the Swordmaster, can hit your target very, very hard. And finally, you have Can Hit Me. This is a channel, increase your block by 50% and damage deals back to your attacker. So one of your defensive tools, if you're using a shield, you will be able to survive almost anything for a long period of time, be able to get healed back up, able to guard an objective. Taking down a Blackwork using this ability is very, very difficult. What kind of play is the Blackwork good at? Just like all the other tanks, group, solo, rank, scenarios, farming stuff. Like they're just PvE, dungeons, they are good at everything. When you play a tank in this game, when you play a healer, you are almost guaranteeing that you're always going to get into a group, you're always going to want an invite, they're always in demand, and Blackwork is just great at almost everything except running around by yourself. But if you're playing a support class, you probably don't want to be running around by yourself. And that's about it. Those are the 3 tanks for Desher side, the Blackguard, the Chosen, and the Blackwork. All very strong. All the tank classes in this game are powerful in their own way. Not a bad choice among them. So that's about it, guys. Thank you for watching this video. We are finally complete. We're done our archetype videos on all the classes in the game, the ranged DPS, the melee, the tanks, and the healers. Now you just gotta make the hard decision yourself of what you want to play, but hopefully these videos have made your decision a little bit easier. And yeah, that's about it. So thanks, guys. Have a great rest of your day, and I will see you next time. Bye.